Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Midnight Page podcast, where the lights are low, the wine's half gone, and we talk about books the way we talk about love. Messy, honest, and maybe a little tipsy. Tonight's experiment, The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And when I tell you this book had me clutching my chest, whispering girl to no one, and reconsidering every lab coat fantasy I've ever had, believe me. It's warm, awkward, a little chaotic, like walking into the wrong lab, spilling your coffee, and accidentally kissing your future emotional support nightmare. It's about the quiet people who feel too small in rooms full of brilliance. It's about control and trust, about wanting proof that love won't explode when you touch it. So pour yourself something, tea, wine, whatever fits your hypothesis, and let's talk. Because this one got under my skin. Part 1. Setup and characters. The girl who didn't believe in forever. Picture it. Stanford, fluorescent lighting, over-caffeinated grad students, and the slow erosion of sanity that only academia can provide. Our girl Olive Smith, 20-something Canadian, earnest to a fault, is knee-deep in her PhD life. She's brilliant, skeptical, emotionally allergic to romance, and perpetually broke. She's also got this one unshakable belief. Love is not reproducible data. And honestly, same. But then there's this bathroom, and this man, and expired contact lenses. It starts in the weirdest, most Olive way possible. She's blind, crying in what she thinks is the women's restroom, and a deep voice says, "Out of curiosity, is there a specific reason you're crying in my restroom?" Girl, that's not how Stanford orientation usually goes. That voice belongs to Adam Carlson, the campus legend, the grumpiest of grumpy professors. Dark hair, darker mood, the kind of man whose approval could make or break a PhD career. And she has no idea who he is yet. Their first interaction, a chaotic therapy session about life choices, academia, and the cost of following your curiosity. She's vulnerable, honest, babbling. He's dry, cutting, and, kind. In that, I'll destroy you with logic, but also tell you you're good enough way. It's not about whether you're good enough, he tells her. It's whether your reason is good enough. That line hit me right in the thesis, because isn't that the question? Not can I do this, but why am I doing it at all? Fast forward a few years, Olive settled into grad school chaos with her best friend Ann and her chaos gremlin roommate Malcolm. They're broke, tired, and powered by caffeine and questionable lab snacks. But Olive has a problem, an adorably ridiculous one. She wants Anne to date her ex, the ex she's totally, absolutely over. Except Anne is too loyal to cross that line, so Olive lies. I'm dating someone else. Cue the fake dating prophecy being born in a single act of panic. And then the kiss, the moment that will live rent-free in my mind forever. It's late in the lab corridor. The air smells like ethanol and despair. Ann's coming down the hall, and Olive panics. She grabs the first guy she sees and kisses him, except it's Adam Carlson, Dr. Adam Carlson, destroyer of egos, fear of the department, the man you cite and cry about later. She realizes this mid-kiss. And when I tell you I screamed, girl, I dropped my book. But the thing is, it's not a disaster. Not quite. Because after that messy, mortifying kiss, he doesn't humiliate her. He just looks at her, calm, curious, and when she babbles out the whole story, her fake boyfriend, her friend, the panic, he listens. He listens. That's when I felt it, that tiny click in my chest, like, oh no, here it comes. That moment when the grumpy man starts paying attention. The next day, campus gossip does what campus gossip does best. It spreads faster than bacteria on an unsterilized plate. Everyone thinks Olive Smith is dating the terrifying Dr. Carlson, and she's mortified. But Adam, stoic, controlled, logical, doesn't seem to mind. If anything, he's amused. And when Olive tries to apologize, he simply says, "You shouldn't need someone to step in for you." It's protective, sharp, almost gentle. And there's something about the way he uses her name, like he's testing it for chemical stability. They strike a deal, a fake dating arrangement. She needs her friend to believe she's moved on. He needs the department to stop assuming he's about to quit and tank their funding. 2 scientists, one carefully controlled social experiment. What could possibly go wrong? Here's where Hazelwood hooks you, because she makes the fake dating trope feel fresh through the lens of science. Every touch, every look, every hypothesis of emotion comes with a data point. They negotiate boundaries like they're writing a protocol. Weekly coffee dates, public appearances, a casual hand on the small of her back. Nothing romantic, obviously, just data, just control. And yet, when he does put that hand on her back, Olive feels it all the way to her heartbeat. And so did I. You know that moment when someone unexpectedly treats you with respect, and suddenly every nerve ending in your body decides to notice them? Yeah, that's Adam Carlson. He's gruff, intimidating, a little socially inept. But the more he shows up for her, the more you realize he's just deeply, catastrophically lonely. They both are. And that loneliness hums between them like static electricity, a lab built on longing. You can't control everything, he tells her once. Maybe not, she says, but I can try. That's the core of this story, trying to love, to heal, to trust data when data fails. By the midpoint of part 1, I was in too deep. The way he stands too close but never touches. The way she pretends not to stare but always does. The way he says her name, like a conclusion he's already proven. Every scene feels like an experiment in tension. If you could chart it, the p-value would be off the charts. And somewhere between coffee dates, conference proposals, and shared protein bars, Olive starts to feel safe, which for a girl who's lost too much and trusts too little is the scariest hypothesis of all. That's the setup. The hypothesis has been made. Fake dating as protection, grumpy and sunshine sharing lab space with longing. Next, we watch what happens when variables collide, because in every experiment, there's that moment when control slips. And oh, does it slip beautifully here. Part 2, conflict and tension. Okay, so now we're officially in the we're fake dating, but why does my pulse do that era? Olive and Adam have a schedule, coffee dates, the occasional campus walk, a photo here and there so the rumor mill stays fed. But you know what they didn't plan for? Chemistry, that chaotic, unmeasurable variable that turns data into disaster. At first it's innocent, banter, awkward silences, the kind of tiny touches that feel accidental until they're not. He buys her coffee, black, no sugar. She brings him one double shot, extra sugar, because he clearly needs sweetness from somewhere. They start to talk, not about feelings, God forbid, but about science, mentorship, and the quiet exhaustion of trying to prove yourself in rooms that don't want to see you. And then we see Adam in a new light. The rumor was that he's arrogant, cold, but what we find is a man who can't stand mediocrity because he wants people to matter. He fights for his students, quietly, fiercely. He hates unfairness. And for Olive, that's everything. There's a scene, I swear my heart stopped, when they're walking through campus in the rain. He holds his jacket over her head, grumbles something about precipitation levels, and she laughs. You sound like a weather app. And he looks at her, really looks, and says, only for you. Tell me why I felt that in my spinal cord. The tension builds like a slow experiment heating up. They sit close in the lab meetings. She can feel the warmth of him, that quiet gravity he carries. And when people start teasing, is that Dr. Carlson's girlfriend? He doesn't deny it. He doesn't look embarrassed. He just rests a hand on the back of her chair and lets the rumor settle. There's power in that moment. The man who commands fear, choosing to be gentle, choosing to protect her narrative. And then comes the conference, the big academic event, the heart of biology nerds. Olive's nervous because this is where she'll present her research, the work that might define her future. Adam is there too, of course, invited as a keynote speaker. He's supposed to be untouchable, black suit, calm face, that impossible presence. But when she walks in wearing her too big blazer and hope in her eyes, he loses all composure. Hazelwood writes it like a slow motion observation. He looked at her like she was something he couldn't quite explain. Girl, I had to close the book. Because that's it. That's the look. Not lust, not awe, but recognition. At the conference dinner, someone flirts with Olive, a harmless postdoc with too much confidence and not enough sense, and Adam's jaw ticks. He's polite, but his silence could slice glass. When the guy leans too close, Adam's voice goes low. She's taken. 3 syllables. Entire dissertation in possessiveness. And Olive, our girl, she's flustered, pretending it doesn't matter. But inside she's chaos, because for once, being claimed doesn't feel like losing freedom. It feels like being seen. That's when the spice starts to simmer. Not explicit, just tension so thick you could pipette it. Every accidental brush, every shared breath, every "you did well today," said in that low voice. It's foreplay, disguised as respect. Part 3, the breaking point. It always happens. The experiment goes unstable. For Olive, it starts with a lie too big to sustain. She's supposed to be fake dating, remember? But the way she feels isn't fake anymore. She tries to convince herself. This is just gratitude, admiration, hormones, whatever. But then he smiles at her across a crowded auditorium. That tiny half smile reserved only for her. And she knows she's in trouble. Meanwhile, academia keeps doing what academia does best. Crush souls under the weight of funding, politics, and power. Olive's research hits a wall. Her mentor retires. Her options shrink. And who's there in the corner, ready to burn his career to protect her? Adam. He recommends her for grants, connects her with other labs, speaks up when people dismiss her. He doesn't make a show of it. He just shows up. You're capable, he tells her once. You just need the data to see it. And she whispers, you're the data. Girl, girl, G-I-R-L. The emotional temperature spikes during a late-night lab scene, the infamous one. There's tension, proximity, and an experiment that needs 2 pairs of steady hands. The air smells like ethanol and nerves. He steps behind her to guide her hand, his breath catching on her shoulder. She forgets the experiment entirely, and so do we. That's the thing about Hazelwood's writing. It's not about the physical, it's about permission. Every almost touch asks, do you trust me now? But right when everything feels like it might finally balance, when fake turns dangerously close to real, the external world crashes in. Rumors spread. Someone questions Olive's professionalism, accuses her of sleeping her way to opportunities, because of course women in academia can't exist without suspicion, and Adam, protective to a fault, steps in, angrily, publicly. He defends her. He says her name like it's sacred, but it backfires. The gossip worsens. The university opens an inquiry. Suddenly, their pretend relationship isn't cute anymore. It's a liability, and Olive, terrified of destroying his career, does the only thing she knows. She ends it. She walks away from him, from the one safe place she'd built. Her reasoning is heartbreak disguised as logic. I can't be the reason he loses everything. It's self-sacrifice in a lab coat, and when she tells him, it's quiet, controlled, devastating. He just looks at her and says, if you think you can ruin me, you don't know how much you mean to me. I had to stop reading. That line is pure ache. But she leaves anyway, because Olive's entire character arc is about courage. The courage to believe she's worth more than her fear. The days that follow are sterile, empty benches, cold coffee, her heart somewhere between a centrifuge and denial. She throws herself into her research, pretending science can disinfect heartbreak. And Adam? He disappears. Of course he does. Because that's what controlled men do when they lose the variable they didn't mean to love. Until the conference. Until the moment she has to present her work again. Publicly, exposed, vulnerable. And she stands there, voice trembling, when someone questions her credibility. She freezes, and then she hears him. From the back of the room, calm, steady, undeniable. Her work is solid. I'd stake my name on it. And he would. He does. That's the breaking point, the moment where all the data collapses and love becomes the only conclusion left standing. They meet after, in a hallway, washed in fluorescent light, their origin setting, full circle, and she says the thing she's been terrified to say. It was never an experiment. He steps closer. Then let's stop pretending. And the world, the noise, the university, the rules fade. The kiss this time isn't panic. It's proof. Slow, certain, the kind that rewrites every hypothesis you've ever had about safety. That's the break. The snap between fear and faith, the messy, glorious collapse of control. Part 4. The experiment has imploded. The lab is a mess. But here's the beautiful thing about mess. It's where discovery happens. After the conference, after the kiss that wasn't pretend, Olive and Adam stop fighting gravity. They start talking, really talking. He tells her about the pressure of being the youngest tenured professor, about how everyone expected him to be a genius machine instead of a person. She tells him about losing her mother young, about choosing science because she thought logic was safer than hope. And in those late-night conversations, something shifts. They stop being caricatures, the grump and the sunshine, and start being two people who've been terrified of needing anyone. Hazelwood writes those scenes like quiet confessions, whispered over the hum of lab equipment. No grand declarations, just honesty disguised as banter. You make things less hard, he says. I thought I was making things worse. She whispers, never. That never lands like a full body exhale. The external world calms too. The university inquiry fizzles when facts win over gossip. Because imagine that, the woman was competent all along. Adam takes a temporary leave, not to escape scandal, but to breathe. And Olive finishes her paper. Her research gets approved. She stands in front of a panel and presents data that could change cancer screening forever. There's a paragraph where Hazelwood describes her looking out over the audience, strangers, professors, peers, and realizing she's not scared anymore. She didn't need anyone to hold her hand. But she smiled, knowing that if she reached, he'd be there. It's not dependence, it's partnership. And when he is there, waiting outside afterward, leaning against the wall in his dark suit, because of course he is, the world tilts right again. He doesn't say much. He never has to. He just holds out a cup of coffee, her favorite, and she laughs through tears. You really think caffeine solves everything? Not everything, he says, just most things. That's the emotional chemistry Hazelwood nails. The ordinary gestures that mean I choose you every day in the small ways. They go home, metaphorically and literally. There's a scene in his kitchen, sleeves rolled up, quiet music playing, Olive perched on the counter while he cooks. No lab coats, no pretense, just warmth. And it's somehow more intimate than any so-called spice scene. When they finally touch, really touch, it's written like discovery, deliberate, reverent, full of consent and curiosity. We don't need the details. The book keeps its soft focus, but you feel the electricity, the way tenderness becomes its own experiment. The conclusion confirmed. The themes, why it hits. This is why the love hypothesis works. It takes tropes we know, fake dating, grumpy, sunshine, academia angst, and filters them through emotional intelligence. It's not about falling in love. It's about proving that vulnerability doesn't cancel competence. Olive learns that logic and feeling aren't opposites, that you can love science and want to be touched gently, that you can be brilliant and still terrified of being enough. Adam learns that control isn't safety if it keeps you alone, that love isn't an equation to balance, it's a variable you live with, and together they model something so rare in romance. Emotional consent. They ask, they check in, they make space. Even their arguments have respect threaded through them. That's what makes it so comforting. It's a book about smart people learning that the heart doesn't care about peer review. Wrap up, verdict, and quote. So final verdict. This book feels like being wrapped in a lab coat that still smells like someone you trust. It's soft, nerdy, a little awkward, and endlessly kind. It reminds you that love can coexist with ambition, that caring doesn't make you weak, and that maybe, just maybe, hypotheses about staying alone were wrong all along. Would I recommend it? Unquestionably. 10 out of 10 expired contact lenses. Would I reread it? Already have. Favorite quote? The one that made me close the book and just feel. You can fall in love every day and it will still surprise you. It's simple. It's hopeful. It's the scientific method of the heart. Test, fail, try again, love again. That's all for tonight's experiment, my loves. If you're lying in bed, let the lights dim a little lower. If you're still on your commute, breathe. You made it through another day. Thank you for joining me on the Midnight Page podcast. Until next time, may your stories hold you gently, and may every hypothesis of your heart turn out to be true.